You know what the hottest toy of 2023 is going to be? It's not going to be a Barbie. It's not going to be Slinky. No. It's going to be trig from the perspective of I to the x. Are you struggling with memorization or understanding the points in the unit circle, trigonometric identities, basic trig, polar coordinates, complex numbers? With I to the x, no memorization of any of those concepts and a solid understanding. Now, rather than just making these claims, let's show you what you get when you pay for trig from I to the x, which is only $7.49. So to start off, everybody knows that the equation for a circle is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And in trig, we really study the unit circle. And that's x squared plus y squared is equal to, get ready for it, unit squared. And by unit, we mean 1. And so 1 squared obviously evaluates to 1. And so if we look onto that, that's not a very good photo. But basically, we've got the circle, right? And every single point on the circle has length, like from the center to any point in the circle has length 1. And we've got some theta, which is this symbol right here, and all that means is an angle value. And when you're dealing with math, sometimes you do it in degrees, but sometimes you do it in radians. And so what a radian is so you know how a circle has a perimeter, 2 pi r. And so you can measure stuff in degrees, but you could also measure it in the arc length from here to your point. And so cosine of theta, and cosine and sine are normally going to be measured in radians if you just like put it in a graph. And so cosine of theta means the x value of this triangle formed. Like cosine theta means the x coordinate, and sine of theta means the y coordinate from theta arc length from the point 0, 1. Yep. And you go counterclockwise. And so if we make this picture a little easier to see this is 1, this is theta, this is cosine theta, and that's the x coordinate, and that's the y coordinate. And so how we remember that cosine is x and sine is y is I do it cosine x, y. And the other function that you'll see is tan, and tan is the slope. And tan is equal to change in y over change in x, which is sine, which is y, over cosine, which is x. And now, since we know that this is a square, this is a triangle, and it has a right angle, because this is x and y perpendicular. You know, if you have a grid, they're all going to be right angles. See, this is x and this is y, and those form right angles. So we can do Pythagoras' theorem. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So cosine theta squared plus sine theta squared equals 1 squared, 1. And so an example of some basic trig is, let's say that we've got this triangle, and we know from this, this base right here to the hypotenuse, it's at 20 degrees, and it's 20 inches. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to convert 20 degrees into radians. And so 20 degrees times 2 pi over 360. And that's going to approximately be 0.349 radians. And now, we know that the triangle is a scalar of coordinate circle. And what I mean by that is, we know this is 20 inches, we know this is 0.349. And now let's scale this such that this is 1 and this is still 0.349. So we're just scaling it. We're multiplying each side lengths by some scalar value. And now we don't know what 20 inches gets converted into, but that's okay. And then we put it on the unit circle, and so this is equal 1, it's the point radius, and this is 0.349 from this point right here, 0, 1. 1, 0, sorry. And this is, the x value is going to be cosine 0.349, and the y value is sine 0.349. And just to double check this, since we can check Pythagoras theorem, we know that c equals 1, and so a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, which is equal to 1. And cosine theta squared plus sine theta squared equals 1. And since a is equal to cosine theta and b is equal to sine theta, then x squared plus y squared is 1. We're saying that this is x and y. And so when you actually compute cosine of 0.349, you get 0.940 something. And when you compute sine of 0.349, you get 0.342 something. And so then we can put these on here, right? This is going to be 1.00, 0.940, and 0.342. And now we know this is a scalar value of this. And so we need to multiply it by some number, let's say m, such that 0.940 is equal to 20 inches. And all the other ones will be multiplied. One will be m, and this will be 0.342 m. And so to do that, we know that 0.940 times m is equal to 20 inches. Therefore, m is going to equal 20 inches over 0.940. And so m equals 21.3 inches approximately. And so we multiply everything by 21.3 inches. And so then we get, our hypotenuse is 21.3, the base is going to be 20 inches, this is going to be 7.3 inches. And now, that's a lot of steps, and there's actually an easier way to do it than getting here, converting to radians, then converting to a scalar, putting it in here. So we remember that for similar triangles, side ratios are by definition equal. And so I mean that, let's take this triangle, 5, 4, 3. C is 5, A is 4, and B is 3. And that's C1, B1, and A1. Now, take this other triangle, it's a scalar, it's similar of this. It's a scalar of 2, so it's times 2. C2 is 10, A2 is 8, and B2 is 6. And so, what I mean by that is like C1 over A1 is equal to C2 over A2. And C1 over A1 is 1.25, and C2 over A2 is 1.25. And so, any ratio between a side of a similar triangle is going to equal a ratio of a side of another similar triangle. And so, in this sense, we've got our length 1, we've got the theta value of the triangle, and we've got A and B. And so, this is XY, so it's like, this is the same triangle from up here. And so this is going to be cosine theta and sine theta. And so, we know that cosine theta is equal to x over 1, which is equal to A over C, where this is C and this is A. Sine theta is y over 1, which is equal to b over c, and tan theta is y over x, which is equal to b over a. And since if we have theta, then the ratios are the same, and so rather than having to make it similar, we can just compute the cosine of that angle, and that's going to be the ratio of a over c, or base over hypotenuse. And so, cosine 0.349 in this example is equal to a over c, which is 20 inches over c, and equal to 0.940. And so then, if we take the inverse of each side, or reciprocal of each side, sorry, that gets you c over 20 inches is equal to 1 over 0.940. And then we multiply both sides by 20 inches. C equals 1 over 0.940 times 20 inches. And when you do the math, that's 21.3. And now this is just the beginning of the trig, and this may give you a little basic understanding of trig, but this isn't what the book's about. That's the foundation of understanding what we mean by cosine, sine, and tan. But the real interesting stuff, the real toy, the real fun is coming about how all this stuff is so simplistic and makes so much more sense when you use I to the x. And so, call 800-252-TRIG to get this booklet, trig from the perspective of I to x, for only $7.49. And reviews are in. Matt says, my child was so happy with trig through I to the x. Vivian says, amazing gift. Amy says, never has there been a better present than this. And Raleigh says, best toy I ever bought. So what are you waiting for? Order right now. Postage not included. Okay, so I've done the end of my infomercial, but I do want to say that this toy will literally be the hottest toy, or literally could be the hottest toy. Since when paper is on fire, it's producing, like, the temperature at the base of the fire is around 1500 degrees plus or minus a couple hundred. So let's just say it's 1200 degrees. And a normal toy is going to be at most 100 degrees Fahrenheit, meaning that because paper is very burnable, my toy is probably going to be the hottest toy on the market by at least 12 times.